Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2017. Welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Our News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. President of the Republic, Bujar Nishani, has returned to his initiative to help the political parties find compromise. In a statement issued to the media, the president expressed his readiness to help the parties communicate. Expressing his concern for the situation, the president invites the Prime Minister and the Democratic Party chairman to dialogue. The statement reads, "The President of the Republic, Bujar Nishani, is following the size of the political crisis in the country with great concern. Once again, he asked the country's Prime Minister and the opposition leader to sit at the negotiating table with the will to find compromise and overcome this difficult situation for the country." President Nishani offers all his institutional readiness and engagement in this service of dialogue. Prime Minister Rama responded immediately to the president's call, expressing readiness to meet with the DP chairman. The Prime Minister was careful to express that the crisis is not one of the country, but of the Democratic Party, saying, "Mr. President, I am also concerned about the size of the crisis of the Democratic Party is taking. I am ready to respond to your much delayed call and meet with Lozim Basha." The German ambassador to Albania, Schutz, declared today that Germany will recognize the June 18th parliamentary elections in Albania, even if the opposition does not participate. The German diplomat had this to say after signing an agreement with the Ministry of Energy for the construction of Tirana's university campus. As the German foreign minister, Mr. Gabriel, said 2 weeks ago, "We hope that the elections will take place on the date set by the President of the Republic. We also wish to see as many political parties as possible participate in the elections. If the Democratic Party and other opposition parties continue insisting on their decision not to participate in the electoral process, this is a sad decision for us, but we will recognize the elections. The German government is willing to recognize the June 18th elections." On the 74th day of the opposition's protest, the Democratic Party leader, Lozim Basha, accused the Albanian Prime Minister, Rama, and Assembly Speaker Ilir Mehta of turning the elections of the president into a bargain. According to the DP chairman, the fund of $35 million for the reconstruction of Elbasan Road was Rama's proposal to convince Mehta to become president, declaring, $35 million is the price Rama paid to shut the mouth of Ilir Mehta, so as not to say that elections will not be held without the opposition. $35 million to sit Ilir Mehta on the president's seat. This was the bargain. This is the old republic, making bargains at the expense of democracy. Mr. Basha added that the majority is trying to divide the opposition and gave an indirect response to those who speak against the Democratic Party, saying, "Bargains are being offered to the opposition in order to become part of the dirty bargain that is rotten from the head." The DP chairman vowed to continue with the battle for free and honest elections, stating, "Whomever, either Albanian or foreigner, is asking me to accept bargains with Rama just for the sake of stability and democracy should clearly understand that the February 18th movement is much bigger than the Democratic Party and Lozim Basha. We will not withdraw from our battle for free and fair elections. There will be no return to the old republic's era with the people as the serving of the alibi of facade government and parliament. We will restore true democracy, or otherwise, our battle will continue until victory. We will win this battle at any cost and any price." After more than 2 months from the original decision to start the protest and enter the tent, the Democratic Party chairman has called a meeting of the Democratic Parliamentary Group at the DP headquarters. The meeting is reported to be held at 6:30 p.m., and sources within the party say that it will be regarding the criticisms the Democratic MPs, Majlinda Bregu, Josefina Topali, and Edward Selami made yesterday about the DP chairman. The 3 MPs asked the DP chairman to urgently gather the leading forums of the party in order to discuss the decision the Democratic Party has made public, the decision not to enter the June 18th elections, which according to the MPs has not been discussed in any of the leading forums. The DP chairman called a meeting of Democratic Parliamentary Group a month ago, with the presence of the DP chairmanship and the heads of the departments in the Democratic Party. The political situation and the decision not to enter the elections are expected to be discussed at the meeting. Debates are also expected. The chairman of the Republican Party, Fatmir Madhu, held a meeting today with the U.S. Ambassador Donald Lu to discuss the political situation and the opposition's decision not to participate in elections. After the meeting, Mr. Madhu did not provide details of their discussion, but he declared that there is still time for dialogue between the opposition and the majority parties for the good of the country, saying, "We talked with the U.S. Ambassador about the political situation. The meeting was not about the request of the ambassador to enter elections, but about a constructive dialogue between the parties that can have in order to have free and fair elections in the country. I think this is the most reasonable way in order to find the common points of discussion and solution that can guarantee free and fair elections for the Albanian people." The chairman of the Republican Party added that the chances for dialogue are always possible as long as communication is made for the good of the country. Mr. Madhu gave an interview at Aura News Studio yesterday, declaring that the political parties should communicate and find a solution to the crisis. He also issued a call to the Democratic Party to make an internal analysis for the future of the party and of the country. The governor of the Bank of Albania made the annual reporting at Parliamentary Economic Commission, where he declared that if the political crisis continues, it will bring insecurities in the economy and will reduce investments made by businessmen. The BOA governor did not exclude the opportunity that the political crisis can also reduce the economic growth. The Bank of Albania's governor, expressing his belief that the situation will go in the right direction, said, "If the political tension continues, we will have a decrease of economy. If the political crisis continues, it will affect the level of investments, consumers' trust, and foreign investments." According to the governor, the indicators of economic sentiment in the first quarter of 2017 resulted in an increase. However, he did not rule out the possibility of revising the predicted level of economic growth. The levels of non-performing loans have decreased to 17.4% until the end of April. U.S. Ambassador to Albania, Mr. Donald Lu, held a meeting today with high school students where he declared that corruption can be stopped if the young generation decide to fight against the phenomenon. The U.S. Ambassador declared that the situation is changing and that corrupt politicians, judges, and prosecutors have started to be afraid of the youth. The ambassador stated that the only way to fight against corruption is when the youth lose their patience and act against it, saying, "Corruption ends in a society when its people finally decide they have had enough and they take action. Often this is led by young people. Times are changing. Corrupt politicians, government officials, judges, and prosecutors are afraid. Do you know who they're afraid of? They're afraid of you." The ambassador mentioned an example of corruption in a school in Kyrgyzstan where only the rich kids received good grades but never studied, and normal students worked hard but received bad grades and never graduated. The ambassador said that the students formed clubs and signed statements that they will never trade a bribe for their education. The president of Kyrgyzstan saw that the charge was coming and decided to support the student movement, giving an example that the youth have fate in their hands. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Cosmo K, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.